Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Football Insomniac podcast. I'm your host, Colin Watt, and it's a sad day on the Football Insomniac. It is our last ever Wednesday broadcast. We are going to announce what is happening as of next week when we are moving to Fridays, and I'll introduce you later on in the show to my new co-host, Callum McFadden. But today it's a special occasion. It's a celebration of what was the Football Insomniac. And I'm delighted to have one of my first guests that I had way back when this started last year. He's a good friend of mine. He's country music star Kevin McGuire. Kevin, how you doing today, mate?
All right, Colin, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm loving the background there. We were just speaking before we came on, but I never mentioned that. I love the hat in the background. Other side.
Yeah. I've not even had that one for long. Look at me pretending I didn't know the hat was there. I'm looking at a mirror image and I thought it was on that side. This is my wee home studio, so it's kept me company during the last 13 months.
And just as everyone who's watching on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter has kept us company on Wednesdays for the last, I think it's 7 or 8 months now. So a big thank you to everyone who's joining us. If you've got any questions for Kevin, leave them in the comments section. We'll bring them up when we get to that section of the show. Today we're going to discuss some topics, some of which are actually very personal, and some of which have had serious ramifications over the last week in terms of the world of football. But we're going to start with quite a sombre topic, and tomorrow marks the 32nd anniversary of the Hillsborough tragedy, where unfortunately 96 people went to a game of football and never came home. The tie was an FA Cup tie between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, and it came out this week that the Hillsborough Family Support Group have now disbanded. They're saying that they've gone as far as they can. They're no longer doing any fundraising. They're no longer pursuing any court cases going forward. I mean, Kevin, this is, when you look back on it, it's one of the saddest days in football history, isn't it?
Yeah, Colin, it's one of these days that will never ever go away. Nobody should go to a football match and not come home. I know that you go to a lot of away games. I go to a lot of away games, and it's just really, really, really sad, to be honest, mate.
It is. I mean, you can't even put it into words because none of us have ever, between the two of us, we've never had that experience where we've lost someone who's went to a game and never came home. But for those families who have lost people, and it's not even that, there's over 700 people that picked up injuries and the thousands that were affected across the Liverpool area and beyond. To think that we're still talking about this 32 years on, to the fact where, to be honest, justice has never been served, and it's a horrible thought to think that perhaps now with the Hillsborough group disbanding, that we'll probably never see justice for these people, and that's a really sad indication on how things have went.
No, Colin, you're dead right, and do you know what? Justice hasn't been served, but I think it's a really, really difficult subject. And the reason is because I think justice can mean so many different things to so many different people in a situation like this. I understand the events in 2016, which saw the new jury finding the police were in fact responsible, can bring a huge sense of relief and contribute some way towards the justice for the families and their loved ones. But, does that and anything to follow make up for the decades of not only the injustice, but the eternal loss of death? That's something that I really can't answer, and only people who have been in that situation can speak for that.
And we're not going to focus on the events of what happened on April 15th, 1989, because I think most people know what happened. You've seen documentaries, you've listened to podcasts since. Paul John Dykes, who's the host of A State of Mind, he did a fantastic interview with Professor Phil Scraton. And if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. It's absolutely incredible. Just getting some of that first-hand information. But what we want to focus on is, has football learned any lessons from this 32 years on? How has the landscape changed for football across basically the world because of this? Obviously, you had the 1990 Taylor Report, which led to the introduction of all-seater stadium for those that are selling tickets. We're now to the point where safe standing is being reintroduced across the United Kingdom. It started with Celtic. I believe recently Manchester United and Manchester City have been given permission to introduce this safe standing. But there's so much more to it as well, Kevin. I mean,
yeah,
one of the biggest things I think that's come out of this is I think football fans have really lost a lot of trust in the way that games are being policed. I think you see it now that there's a lot of incidents that happen at games where police are telling you to do something and fans just don't believe them. And it ultimately comes back to the way that things like this have been handled. And the safety aspect of people going to games is something which I know you have had experience with before, and I'm sure you're going to discuss it, that some of these lessons just have never been learned.
Nah, Colin, you're right what you said. Back when the legislation came through for football stadiums to have all-seater stadiums, to have seated stadiums, but ultimately the lesson hasn't been learned, because we're still standing at away games in particular in areas that were made for seating, and they're just not safe to stand in. I think if football clubs are going to allow fans to stand in these areas, it needs to be safe, and that's on them. You know, there's been times we've spoken about it in the past where we've been to recent away games, and you know, the policing just isn't there. There's potential crush outside the stadium. I was at a game at Tynecastle, not that December there, but the December before. And, you know, we were 10 minutes late getting into the game, and there was almost a mass crush outside with thousands of people. I don't know if you ever go to Easter Road away when everyone's on that tiny wee bridge, you know, and there's no police in there at all. So I think it's an accident waiting to happen. I really do. I think that, as I've said, if football stadiums are going to allow supporters to stand in these areas that are made for seating, you know, the seats kind of come up to your knee. You know, there's no bar there to hold on to. Last year I was away at Aberdeen, and obviously don't have to say what team scored first, but we all went a bit nuts, and there was a woman, there was an older woman beside me. I ended up on the floor, right, because there was 10 people in my row, where 5 seats, you know, ultimately in the space where 5 people should have been seated. And I ended up on the floor. If the woman next to me hadn't been savvy enough her first thought was move out of the way instead of celebrate, she would have been on the floor below me and below a bunch of other people. Her head would have been cracked off the concrete. So yeah, that's where I stand on it. I think I love standing at away games, Colin. I really do. I think that's the way to go. But I think it needs to be made safer for people to do that. And currently, people are just turning a blind eye.
And again, that comes back to the element of how these games are being policed. And I know fans want to go and stand at away games. It's meant to bring a bigger atmosphere. You see it when your team gets to Hampden. You see it when you go away anywhere in Scotland. The majority of away fans are looking to stand at these games. And I guess
more fun. It is more fun, mate. It's more fun, but like you were talking in Hampden there, like we sometimes can't take my grandpa to Hampden anymore because he's elderly and he has to stand for the whole game. So because everyone else is standing, so there's so many other problems there. It's just a given that people are going to stand at these games.
One of the things you touched on, though, that I think is one of the biggest issues and something that football hasn't learned from is the entrance to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back to the Hillsborough disaster, that's where this all started, where policing was to the level that the turnstiles became completely full, and the gate was opened and all the Liverpool fans went into the one pen because of the way it was set up, and everyone knows what happened after that. I've been to games all over Scotland where you're expecting maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 fans to go through 4 turnstiles, where there's other turnstiles that aren't being used, where there's extremely slow entry systems. And fans, you know what fans are like. If they pay for the ticket, they want to get in, they want to be there in time. Celtic fans want to see their team coming out and doing the huddle. All the other teams' fans want to see them coming out and getting ready and seeing the whole 90 minutes. And this impatience of when you get outside a football ground it causes a lot of trouble. And I think in that aspect, football has to learn that there has to be a quicker way to do these entrances into football grounds, that we don't cause these pile-ups outside, and you don't get these people panicking that they're going to miss a couple of minutes of the game. A couple people will say, well, get there earlier. I've been at games where I've been there an hour before kickoff and still managed to miss the first couple of minutes because of how long it takes to get into the stadium and the way that things are policed. And you mentioned as well, things like going to a ground. The one at Easter Road is still the one that surprises me completely. The fact that you're trying to put 5,000 fans across this narrow bridge that can contain maybe 2 or 3 people at the one time. kind of side by side. Safety aspects is just, it's terrible across Scottish football, and it's something that needs to be picked up on and needs to be worked upon. There was an independent police report only a couple of years ago that suggested that clubs are selling tickets that are for seats that do not exist in football grounds.
Really?
So I've had this example once, and I believe it was at Motherwell, and I'm not picking on Motherwell, it's just the example I've got to my head, where I was sold a ticket for Fir Park, and when I got there and tried to find that seat, there was no seat there. It was just an empty bench. That's not acceptable. And I think Rangers had the thing where they went to Elgin, and 3,500 tickets were sold for that stadium.
Yeah.
It could only hold 2,400 in the away end. The game got cancelled because of it. Things like this is just, I don't know if it's corporate greed, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't help the safety of supporters in football grounds.
Nah, it just sounds like people are chancing it until there's another disaster like Hillsborough. I think there's got to be a higher level of responsibility taken by the clubs. I don't know. There's a difference between inside the stadium, obviously, and then taking responsibility for outside the stadium. You know, like we've talked about at Easter Road, that's, you know, a few hundred yards from the stadium. Therefore, is that Hibs' responsibility? I personally think it is. They know this is happening, and I'm not just picking on Hibs, by the way. This is just because of games that we're talking about that we've been at. You know, there's plenty of grounds across the country that are the same, but there's got to be a higher level of responsibility taken. They know that thousands of fans are going to be arriving through, you know, roughly at the same time through that same entrance, but because, you know, the kind of walkways and stuff aren't the club's responsibility, I feel that they're perhaps turning a blind eye to it, whereas, you know, we're just waiting for something else. Is it going to take another disaster to happen until something's done about this? I think what you've just brought up about the tickets for the stadiums is just shocking. I didn't know about that at all. I know that fakes are made, but I didn't know it could come from the club themselves.
Yeah, you definitely see it. I've been at away grounds where you're going, there's far more people in here than what's actually in the allocation. And I guess the clubs are just looking to make that money off of the teams that's coming there. But we need to learn that lesson, as you said. I hope it doesn't take for another disaster for something to actually change in the game. In that same police report, there was talk of stadium safety certificates that were being reviewed and re-released without ever having someone on site to say, yeah, that's okay, yeah, this is fine. Things like that, we can't shortchange on safety and security in stadiums, because this is the prime example of what can happen. And do you know what? I really hope you're right. I hope there isn't another disaster that kind of brings this to light, and we're talking about this in a couple of years' time where something's happened in one of these new modern stadia because of something that happened at the entrance, something that happened to do with the safety certificate. It's the last thing you want in football, and especially now at this period where fans aren't in the grounds. Now is the time to go and make those changes to your stadium, make them safe, and have it ready for the comeback of fans, which I hope will happen this year.
Yeah. What do you think the steps are then to do that? Because we go to a lot of away games. I see it a lot of away games, and is it the simple case of introducing, you know, safe standing with the bars along the seats? Is that, you know, when away supporters are in there, or do you think they have to do even more than that and make sure that the walkways and stuff are safe? Like, how quickly and how easily do you think this is done?
I don't think this is a quick solution. I don't think there is a quick solution to everything, because what you've said on the bars for standing, a lot of people will disagree with. Some people will agree with you as well. And things like the walkways outside the grounds, clubs and the city councils will have arguments left, right and centre over who has the responsibility to maintain those. You even see it, I mean, we'll both admit here, we're both Celtic fans. We've been to Celtic Park on a Wednesday night when it's -4 outside and the streets going up and down London Road are covered in ice. And Celtic do not take responsibility for that. They say it's a Glasgow City Council problem. So you can see that there's already disputes between clubs and councils over the safety of fans round about stadiums. So it comes as no surprise to me. What I do want to say, just to kind of wrap this up, because I don't want to take too long on this, I do want to move on to other topics, is I'm absolutely delighted at the response of the football community that back this tragedy that back the support that's been given to it. The Justice for the 96 campaign has been absolutely outstanding in all aspects that has taken place. For me, and this probably isn't going to get me any fans at one particular newspaper, but the fact that in Liverpool over 100 shops have banned the sale of the Sun newspaper just shows you the power of fan media and shows you the power of fan groups, and that has to be applauded, because the way that the Sun reacted to this tragedy back 32 years ago and how they've carried on since has been shambolic, to say the very least. So I'm delighted for them. You can still see it when Jurgen Klopp does his interviews. He doesn't include the Sun journalists in his questions, so you can see there is that overriding kind of annoyance at the way that it was handled. And fair play to Liverpool and the city of Liverpool for how they've handled it. But I'm just going to bring up this comment from Helen McCallum, and I think this is the best way to wrap this segment up. Justice for the 96, and God bless them all. And we hope that no matter what happens over the next few years, that finally the families will finally get some justice and feel that justice has been served for the people that they've lost. So, moving on to a slightly more upbeat topic, we're going to discuss the weekend's big game in Spain. It was El Clásico. It is the match between Real Madrid and Barcelona. 2-1 it finished to Real Madrid. It puts them 1 point behind Atletico in La Liga. Barcelona are a point behind that, with Atletico being top on 67 points. Real Madrid second on 66, Barca on 65. Kevin, does this match really kind of have the biggest implications on where the title is going? To me, I think, looking at the momentum, Real Madrid could be in pole position to lift that title.
Of course they can. Real Madrid have just kind of come out of nowhere the last couple of months, haven't they? I mean, I think, was it New Year that the Atletico were like 6 points clear with a game in hand? Barca weren't playing well, but Barca kind of always maintained that second place for a while. Real Madrid seem to be hitting form at the right time, even in the Champions League. A big game tonight as well. So, it was a good game. Benzema just keeps coming up with the goods year after year after year. Yep. I think he's such an underrated player. But Barca, I feel like they've needed to have this last 12 months to kind of admit that they need to regroup as a football team and a football club. They needed to reset, bringing through the youngsters. Pedri, Ansu Fati, obviously he's been out for a little while, but no, it was a big game at the weekend. Great first goal. Reminded me a little bit of Mr. Dembele.
Yep.
For Celtic in a certain League Cup semi-final, I think it was. And obviously an absolute fluke for the second goal. But a really, really entertaining game. I'm totally not a fan of watching games at training grounds. But
it's a strange experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just obviously they're getting work done, aren't they, to the Bernabeu at the moment?
Yeah, I think they've been playing there since the football restarted away back in April or May last year. Yeah,
used this time well. But no, it was a good game. It was a good game. Barcelona actually thought were unlucky not to get something from it, but at the same time, Real Madrid could have been 3-0 up and the game out of sight. So it absolutely blows the title wide open. And Atletico then going and dropping points the day after. Are they going to bottle it?
It's an exciting league race, and I'm just going to bring up this point from Mr. Briggs. Since Sky Sports dropped Spanish football and it went behind one of those small channels hidden behind a paywall, totally lost track of it. And it's a real shame since Sky lost it. I know it's now on Premier Sports, which has its own La Liga channel. And luckily enough, I'd subscribed to it for the Scottish Cup this year, so I managed to see the game. Otherwise, it would have been trying to find a stream on the old IPTV. But yeah, I mean, Spanish football was treated as the best in the world by Sky at one point with Revista de la Liga and Guillem Balaguer, and it was games that you looked forward to because it was after all the Scottish and English football was done. It was the Saturday, Sunday night, 8 o'clock kickoffs.
Amazing.
And it was a true end-to-end game, this Real Madrid-Barcelona game. Benzema's goal, as you said, fantastic finish. The wee flick between his legs and past Ter Stegen at his near post, which you should never be beating at your near post if you're a goalkeeper. Toni Kroos's goal, a free kick after 28 minutes. For me, I didn't think it was a free kick leading up to it. I think Real Madrid got very lucky in that aspect, but then they couldn't have got any more lucky with the deflection off the wall and then the header basically on the line into the back of the net from the defender.
I think Jordi Alba's got to save that, man. Jordi Alba's got to save that off the line, I think. I know it took a deflection before it came to him, but nah, his reactions have got to be better, in my opinion. I know it was slippy, I know it was pulling the game, but yeah, that's what I think.
And then McGuire, the right back for Barcelona, scoring with 30 minutes to go. And then in the 94th minute, another one of these kind of young players coming through at Barcelona, Moriba, hits the shot off the crossbar. It falls to Ter Stegen, who gets his shot blocked by, I can't remember who actually blocks the second shot. It was just one of those, like, game you didn't want to end. You feel if there was another 5 minutes in it, Barca would have got an equaliser.
Yeah.
One of the major talking points, though, that comes out of it is Casemiro. 2 yellow cards in 2 minutes, getting himself sent off. If you are Zinedine Zidane sitting on the touchline, with the game getting that close, you'd have been tearing what's left of his hair out.
Yes, I can only relate that to current derby experiences that we've watched where people have got themselves sent off stupidly. He must have been going absolutely crazy, but do you know what? Zidane's been there, done it. He got the result he wanted. Casemiro's a very, very experienced footballer, and I think they'll both be able to move on from that. They've got more important things to go through. But just what you were saying a couple of minutes, Colin, about Spanish football, I grew up watching that on a Saturday and Sunday night, and as you said, it was such a thing for me to look forward to at like 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening because I knew I had school the next day. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just made the weekend a little bit longer, gave me something really to enjoy. Even watching, going back a long time ago and being really young and watching like the Galacticos on a Sunday night with Zidane, the Brazilian Ronaldo, Figo,
Raul,
Beckham. Yep. It's such a shame as well because we've watched Messi for so many years, and now it's becoming really difficult to watch Messi unless you've got Premier Sports. But I don't think we're seeing the best of him in the Champions League. Obviously, we've not seen the best of him in the Champions League for a couple of years now. So, it's a real shame. It's a real shame. The Premier have the Italian football as well. Am I right in saying that?
I think that's on BT, is it not? I'm not 100% sure on that.
Premier Italian Cup, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. It just shows you, though. I mean, if you want to follow all these leagues that you used to be able to follow, basically on Sky, you're now subscribing to Sky, BT, Amazon. I'm trying to think who else is on there. It used to be, I think, was it maybe a season or two ago, there was another one that cropped up, which was basically owned by the same person that owns Leeds. I can't even remember the name of that. It was a subscription service. It bought the rights to the US golf as well, and I think it failed after 6 months. But it just shows you the way that football's going down now, and it's a shame because games like this, it was ideal to watch on Saturday night there because, let's be honest, it was the best game of the weekend.
I know, and I think there's so many people that don't even know the game's on. Like, if it's Real Madrid Barca, I have to tell my dad that it's on. Unless you're like on social media all the time, it's very difficult to even. You'd have to go out your way to find out who Barcelona's playing or who Real Madrid's playing or who Atletico's playing. The majority of the people probably over here won't have a clue how tight the top of La Liga is, and it's actually one of the best league seasons. Obviously, the fans aren't in there just now, so not great in that aspect. But in terms of the league table, it's one of the most exciting ever. Probably, to be honest, I can't remember the last time 3 teams were locked at the top like this, 1 point after the other. So it's a real shame, Colin, and it's a shame that so many subscriptions are needed now to watch football. But I just don't know what you can do about it, apart from getting a dodgy stream.
And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people advertising them soon enough.
Yeah.
There's a couple of big games actually coming up in the next few weeks that might determine where the league title is going, and it's actually on the same day. So on the 9th of May, Barcelona play Atletico Madrid at the Nou Camp, and also Real Madrid play Sevilla, who are sitting in 4th place at the Real training camp, or whatever the stadium's actually called. I think it's named after Alfredo Di Stefano.
It is, yeah.
Those 2 games could absolutely determine where that league title goes, and if Barca were to win that, and Sevilla managed to get something off of Real, it opens it right back up again. And as you said, this is one of the most exciting leagues across Europe at the minute.
Yeah, and I just think, as I said earlier, I think Real Madrid seem to just be quietly hitting form at the right time. We saw that in the Champions League, and I didn't expect them to get a 3-1 win against Liverpool and kind of win that game so comfortably, particularly without some key players, particularly without, I don't know what's happened to Eden Hazard of Chelsea, but and then you're taking Bale out that team as well from the beginning of the season. So they really seem to be doing it. They really seem to have players who are kind of stepping up under the radar. I know Vinicius has really kind of come of age recently. If I had to bet right now, please don't drag this up when the league's won, but I can't see how Real Madrid don't have as good a chance, if not better, than the other two. I think they've been there, done it. Even with this squad, they've won Champions Leagues. So I think Barca are in a more developmental season. But yeah, I'm going to go Real Madrid.
I would have to agree with you. As much as I would favour Barcelona winning the title, I'd say Real Madrid's in pole position. Just looking at the three teams and who they've got coming up next, Real Madrid are 3-1 up on Liverpool. They play them tonight. Liverpool at home this evening, I believe. Is the game at Anfield? I'm not sure. It could be one of those ones where they're playing both legs away from home.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It might be. I might be totally wrong with that. I just know that that's where Liverpool have been playing recently. So,
in fact, it's not at Anfield, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Liverpool, Real Madrid. Real Madrid see this one through tonight?
On paper, you would say yes. Had it been a season or two ago and Liverpool would have had the crowd at home, it might have been a different story. But I also think, apart from last week's result, Liverpool have done very well in not allowing their league form to dictate the Champions League form. So I think it could go either way. Likelihood is Real Madrid will get the result, but
come on, Kevin, get off the fence. Tell us.
One
word answer: Real or Liverpool?
I'm going to go for Real Madrid to get through, but it'll be an exciting game if Liverpool's front three can hit the mark, or front four even.
Barcelona are in the Copa del Rey final on Saturday against Atletico Bilbao.
Yeah.
Barca or Atletico Bilbao?
Am I right in saying that Atletico just lost one maybe a week and a half ago or something like that? Last season's final.
They were definitely in it. I don't know what the result was.
I think they got beat. I could be totally wrong, so if anybody's watching this, correct me. But I think I remember seeing it and thinking, well, they could either win two or they could win none. So I'm going to go Barcelona. And finally, Atletico Madrid play Eibar in the league. A chance to extend their gap at the top of the table. A home win for Atletico? Yes. Yeah. And I saw Mr. Dembele's back in contention right now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's good to see him back. I think that was just a dehydration issue with him, so it's good to see him back. We're almost half an hour into the broadcast, and it's great to have you all here today. Delighted to have with me my good friend Kevin McGuire for what is the last ever Wednesday Football Insomniac. Very shortly, we'll be introducing you to our new co-host, Callum McFadden, who will be joining us for a spell just to discuss what is coming up when we move to Fridays starting next week. But Kevin, we did have you on a way back at the start. And every time I have guests on, I get them to do the Dream Football dinner party. And we don't want to retouch that subject because that means that people can go back and actually watch the old episode again to see who you'd have chose. So for a one-off...
I can't even remember this.
So for a one-off special today, we're going to touch on who would be in your dream five-a-side team. We see the announcement in Scotland that on May 17th, 5s and 7s will be reopening back to the public. Kevin, you've got a couple of weeks to pull together your five-a-side team. Who would you have in it, starting with your goalkeeper?
Starting with my goalkeeper, okay. Because it's fives, you need somebody to be able to play in goals and kind of sit at the back when needed. So this might be a bit of a cliche, but I'm going to go with sweeper keeper Manuel Neuer. I think he'd be fantastic at fives. He could probably take the ball and beat the whole opposition team as well. So, yeah, and he's a bit nuts. You need that.
Manuel Neuer's a really good choice. He was sort of the brainchild of the sweeper keeper. I know it was a thing that happened maybe before even both of us were born that you see keepers like that. But in this generation, he is the kind of... Everyone tries to be Manuel Neuer.
Did you see him last night?
I saw bits of it, aye.
Unbelievable, sliding out to Neymar and Mbappe and stuff and just proper getting it clear.
He's someone that picks the ball up in the halfway line and starts the attacks, and he's the goalkeeper.
Aye, I know. Imagine what it must be like for that defence, though, knowing that you've got him if the ball goes over the top. It's just right out.
Bonkers. So what formation are you playing after your goalkeeper? What have you got?
I am playing... So with a 5, I'm going to go for a 1-1-2. 1, 2. And I'm going to start at the top, right? I'll start at the other end so that that will kind of explain my choices going back the way. So you've got Neuer in the back. I couldn't have a fives team without putting Ronaldo and Messi in it. I just couldn't do it.
Do you think that Ronaldo and Messi would ever get on? I feel as if Ronaldo's one of those sort of
but you
more
don't
selfish types.
See if you can just get somebody that can get the ball and shift it and shoot. You know, it's done so quick. There's such little ground to cover that these two guys will win you fives on their own.
So Ronaldo, Messi, and Neuer. Who else is part of this five-a-side team?
So behind them, what I'm thinking is you don't want to lose that spark, right? Because it's fives. You don't need. I think you don't need a lot of defensive ability. You want people that are going to be able to win your match, but you do need a little bit more steel and a little bit more grit in there. Strong guys who can do both sides of the game. So behind Ronaldo and Messi, Maradona's going to sit there.
Another legend of the game.
Another player that can just win games on his own and win leagues on his own, but he's got a bit more. Let's say you wouldn't want to go into a tackle with him, you know, in comparison to Ronaldo and Messi.
So we've got Ronaldo, Messi, Maradona, Neuer. Who completes
Not bad for me, that, eh? And do you know what? I might get slagged for this, right? I've got one space left, and I'm going to tell you who it is, but then I'll tell you who I had in there anyway, right? So it's five-a-side, so you don't need... I see a lot of people going for these big centre-backs, but you don't need... Height's not really the biggest issue here because it's five-a-sides, right? You don't play really above waist height. So I want somebody in there that can properly sit in front of the goalkeeper, right? Break up the play, can tackle like hell when Messi and Ronaldo don't feel like doing it, but can also play. And he's played in one of the greatest teams, you know, of all time. World Cup winner, Champions League winner.
Oh, spit it out, Kevin. Come on.
Captain, mate, but can play. Carlos Puyol.
Ooh. Now, there's probably quite a few choices that could have come in there when you're naming all those. There's quite a few people that tick that list.
Yeah,
but what?
One absolute shocker, mate.
I was expecting maybe someone like Cannavaro or Baggio or maybe even Cafu, but it's an interesting choice.
I would fear going into a tackle with Puyol more. Sometimes you need that guy that will just run with endless energy, who you don't want to go into a tackle with, who's got that proper strength. So that's why Puyol was in there. But I was considering somebody yesterday who is just... I think he's got one of the best engines in the world football right now. Never looks tired, can proper put in a tackle, can play at fullback or defence. And see when you're busting a gut at fives and you're trying to attack and you lose the ball, he's the guy that's going to be back there doing all the dirty work. Kieran Tierney.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Aye, Kieran Tierney's a good shout.
But I've gone for Puyol instead.
Puyol over Kieran Tierney, I think most people would let you away with. I think we're good there.
KT's the guy you want at fives when you lose the ball and you don't have the energy. You just know he'll be back there doing all the dirty work.
My only fear about Kieran Tierney is the injuries that he picks up.
Well,
at five-a-side, that's at five-a-side he could be a bit of a target, I think, as well.
Aye.
But yeah, so your five-a-side team is Neuer, Puyol, Maradona, Ronaldo, Messi. I think that would probably win quite a few tournaments across Glasgow and the West, definitely.
Right. You'd struggle to even get the ball off them, so...
A couple of teams just chucking it before they even go in the park.
Aye, I'll give them a phone. Game at goals in a couple of weeks' time.
Speaking about five-a-sides, it is last night's games in the Champions League kind of resembled a bit of five-a-side at times. Someone you mentioned there, Manuel Neuer, playing for Bayern Munich last night as the... that is actually incorrect. Bayern did not go through last night.
You put that across the screen.
I did. That's a big error for the last ever Insomniac, isn't it?
It's quite a big error, but do you know what? Some people just say stuff, and if they say it so many times, they just start believing themselves that it's true. So if you want to keep it up there...
No, we've made a quick change there.
There we go.
Chelsea and PSG go through. There's a couple of things I want to touch on in these games, right? First of all, we'll speak about the games. And then I want to speak about the previous leg and an experience that happened to me because of the previous leg's games. First of all,
happened to you over the last week?
Yes, it's something that I actually did over the last week, which is quite surreal, to be perfectly honest. But Bayern winning 1-0 last night and going out on away goals. I think they just really missed Robert Lewandowski up front. Some of the chances that were created in the first leg, he would definitely have put them away. And Choupo-Moting, as much as he got the kind of goal in the first leg, and he's just nowhere near good enough to replace a guy of the calibre of Lewandowski.
Nah, you're talking about World Player of the Year, aren't you? I know Choupo-Moting got the goal last night, but you saw there was a couple of times that the ball just got played up to him and it just broke down in front of him. But it's not just Lewandowski. You're taking Gnabry out of that team and Douglas Costa. So you're effectively taking another front three out of that team who are just world class and electric. And I thought Bayern Munich had a very strong starting team last night, maybe minus Choupo-Moting. But when you look at the bench, I think that's what really killed them. There was just, I think PSG knew that. I think PSG knew that Bayern didn't really have anything else to offer apart from what was there on the pitch. I think Leroy Sané let himself down a bit with his final ball. Very talented player.
Yep, definitely. He's one of those ones I don't think we've seen the best of him yet.
No. And do you know what? He scored quite a few goals this season for Bayern Munich. He's been looking really, really good from the highlights that I've managed to see on BT. But then you also have to say there's a reason that Guardiola was, okay for him to leave Man City. And yeah, I thought final ball let himself down a little bit. I thought, as much as it kills me to say it, I thought Neymar was fantastic with Mbappe, rolling about aside. But yeah, sometimes, as you said, it was like watching five-a-side. Some of the football was just absolutely phenomenal. PSG just look unbelievable on the attack, on the counter-attack. Within 5 seconds, the ball can be in the back of the net. I don't know how Neymar didn't score last night.
That was one of the things watching it. I just couldn't believe that Bayern managed to keep a clean sheet last night.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't Neymar, it was Mbappe, it was Draxler. There was so many opportunities that came up, and I'm really surprised they didn't put one of them in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Goes to show what happens when you get a world-class goalkeeper between the sticks.
Yeah, but you know what? It was probably his fault last week in Munich. For the
He should never have been beaten at his near post, just like we mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
PSG go through to the semi-final. Is it their year? Are they finally going to be able to do
it? I don't know, mate. I don't want to speak too much on this, but I really don't agree with the kind of football teams who wouldn't really be anywhere near that if they didn't have this massive injection of cash. So my heart was with Bayern Munich last night, and you look at the teams left in the tournament, I would have to say Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid or Liverpool would be my pick, for the teams to go on and win it. But PSG certainly shown that they are, more than ever, they look like a complete team. But also they're playing a Bayern Munich team over the 2 legs without the World Player of the Year, without Serge Gnabry, who's just absolutely electric. So you need that kind of luck, if you want to call it luck. You need those breaks if you're going to win a tournament. But I also think that every other team in there right now will feel they've just got as good a chance as PSG. I think Bayern Munich showed that there are frailties over the 2 legs with PSG, and certainly the first leg. I think there was a stat that came out last night that every outfield player had an attempt on goal in the first leg.
That's crazy, isn't it?
You give those chances to a team that are fully fit and at full strength, then you're going to concede goals.
And in the other tie last night, Porto left it late but managed to win 1-0. Fantastic overhead kick, but just a case of too little too late for Porto, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 94th minute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Outstanding goal. I actually do think it came off his shin, but I'm not going to say any more on that.
You just take it. It doesn't matter whether it came off his shin or not. You take that kind of goal.
No, outstanding goal. And Porto did phenomenally well to beat Juventus as well. It's just so strange watching away matches, on a neutral ground with no fans. Just, I can't get used to it. But yeah, Chelsea look strong under Tuchel. He's obviously got the know how to get to the final. They look like a team that know what the manager's asking them to do, and I think that's maybe what Chelsea have lacked over the past few years. And I think that's what a lot of teams lack. They seem to really click. They trust each other, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them make the final.
And I just want to discuss this, right? So
What's he going to tell me? I'm intrigued now.
So I'm sure you've seen it, and I think we spoke about it, but maybe not everyone who's watching seen it. So after last week's game, so these were played on Wednesday last week. I was actually invited on to Pakistani news channel Indus News.
I thought you were drunk when you were telling me that.
No, that's genuinely true. So I was on Pakistani news discussing these games last week. It was a surreal experience. I have to thank one of our usual contributors on A Celtic State of Mind, Russell Boyce, my new international agent, for sorting that one out. But it looks as though some of your favourites from the State of Mind team will soon be down as football experts in Pakistan, and will be joining Indus News Sports to give kind of reviews of the game, which it was completely surreal. But yeah, a big shout out to Almadar Khan, who's the host of that. It was good to have him on. He's actually an actor over in Pakistan, so I was trying to compare what it might be like, but I think it's like if Ollie Murs hosted a sports news show. That was kind of what it was like.
What were you saying?
So we were just discussing about the first legs of the games. I think he's a big Chelsea fan. That's the way it came across. So we're kind of focusing on Chelsea. But yeah, it was actually a good experience. So yeah, enjoyed that. So
fantastic. So have you been back?
Yeah. Apparently we'll be back, and I believe Natasha Meikle will be on in the Sports News very soon. So check that one out if you're a regular on A Celtic State of Mind. We're very shortly just about to introduce who will be the new co-host on the Football Insomniac podcast. He's in the wings waiting to come on. But just before we do, on tonight's games, Liverpool versus Real Madrid, a quick answer. You've already said Real Madrid's going through. Who's going to win the game?
It's going to be a draw.
Draw, I'll take that. And City Dortmund?
Oh, my heart says Dortmund.
What does your betting slip say?
I'm going to go Dortmund. Just putting it out there.
The heart says Dortmund. Does the betting slip say Dortmund?
Mate, I don't bet. I've never bet. Honestly, I don't bet. I've never bet in my life. I think I got a free bet once, and I completely screwed it up. Absolute rubbish at it. So, nah, I don't bet, mate.
Well, always if you are doing it, gamble responsibly. But it does take us on to what will be, as I've already mentioned, it is the last Football Insomniac on a Wednesday. We are moving to Fridays at 6 p.m. on A State of Mind, starting next Friday. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to who will be my new co-host. It is from Football CFB, Callum McFadden. Callum, how you doing,
Colin? Aye, not bad at all. Just been enjoying the show this morning, so delighted to pop in.
Yeah, well, just wanted to introduce you to all the ladies and gentlemen watching, and Kevin, who's with us today. That you will be the new co-host starting on Friday. So tell the people, what have you got lined up? What's the new features that's coming in for next Friday's show?
I'm looking forward to it, Colin. I think there'll be a feature that we're planning called The Debate, where you and I can get our teeth stuck into some of the most sort of common issues, but maybe even go down memory lane as well. And I'm sure that'll be something that will have a lot of interaction. And the predictor, and that's something that I'm sure will be good as well. I'm sure we can have a wee table, and it'll get quite feisty towards the end of this season.
And we're also looking at doing some special awards for people. So we're going to have the player of the week, the goal of the week, and potentially, words are still to be confirmed on this, but it could be Diddy of the week, where we look at someone who's made a complete backside of things for their team. I don't know if any of you managed to see it, but there was some women's qualifying matches on for the Euros last night. Colombia versus Northern Ireland. The tackle that got the Colombian centre-half sent off was absolutely outstanding. The ball was going right back to the goalkeeper. The Northern Irish defender was closing in on her, and she just completely took her right out of the game. Just an elbow basically to the face, straight red card sent off. That would probably win you Diddy of the week. So that's the kind of things that we're looking for. Callum, you've built up a bit of a reputation doing the Football CFB. Tell us some of the people that you've had the chance to interview over your time.
Well, on Football CFB, obviously from the fans of A Celtic State of Mind, will love, obviously, Henrik Larsson's been on, Chris Sutton, John Hartson, Lubo Moravcik. Moving out with sort of Celtic, the other side of Glasgow, there's been Barry Ferguson's been on. I've just had Gregory Vignal on. And going further afield, I've had Rennie Mullenstein, who was at Manchester United as a first-team coach, Les Ferdinand, who's at QPR. So a real mix of sort of Scottish football guests, some guests obviously from English football, and some European guests. For instance, on Thursday, I'm going to have the Maribor manager, Simon Rosman, as well. So just a mix of UK-based football and European football. So it's thoroughly enjoyable, but obviously more one-to-one interviews there.
And you've got that Barcelona jersey behind you. We were just discussing El Clásico. What was your thoughts on the game from the weekend?
It was one of those ones where they really had to win, and I was disappointed with them. I think Karim Benzema, though, if I have to say on him, for me, he's one of the most underrated players of the last decade. I know a lot of people looked at Ronaldo and Bale, but for me, he's a shining light. And for Messi, I just hope they can improve, because the last few years of his career, you don't want to see him go out with a whimper. You want to see him have the opportunity to play in another Champions League final or win another title, because he's too good to go out with a whimper.
And there you go, Kevin. Absolutely stealing your patter there, saying that he's completely underrated. So it just shows there's a couple other people that definitely believe that out there. What's the other jersey that's next to Messi's?
Jay Rodriguez sent me that one. So I had Jay on the show last year. I know his father quite well, so he sent me that one as a sort of wind-up. He scored a belting goal against Man United away from home, and that's the jersey he sent me. So a lot of people ask me if it's a Man City shirt, but I promise you it's not. It's Jay Rodriguez of Burnley.
So obviously we're going to be doing these shows Friday at 6 o'clock. We're looking forward to having everyone joining us over there for the Friday football show. We did mention that we're going to do a predictor game. We're going to call it the Insomniac Super 7. We're going to take a look at the 7 big games that's coming up that weekend. Give our predictions, me and Callum. We'll go head-to-head. But we'll also go head-to-head with a guest that we'll hopefully have on. We're looking to see who will be the first guest. But we also want you to get involved as well, to get your predictions in, and we'll maybe start a fan prediction table as well. Any other ideas that you'd like to see on the show, do let us know. We're going to try and make it as interactive as possible. And let's be honest, if you want to take a shot and have a slag at us for some of our predictions, we'll look forward to it, because, we're hopeless as well. I've seen Callum's betting slips over the last couple of years, and they've been pretty honking. Mine's have been terrible this year as well. It's almost been a weekly donation. But yeah, definitely look forward to it. Callum, what have you got between now and next Friday for people to check you out before the show?
So as I say, I've got an interview with the Maribor manager, Simon Rosman, out on Thursday. Kit Simons, who was the assistant manager for Wales at Euro 2016 as well. And then going into next week on Monday, there'll be a guest that I've not announced yet, but it's somebody who will be very familiar to fans of Scottish football. So check out Football CFB this Monday.
And definitely check out the Football Insomniac next Friday, when Callum will be joining us as the new co-host when we move to our new time slot. It's Friday at 6 o'clock. But Callum, thanks very much for joining us on a Wednesday morning. I'll let you get back to your bed. You look as if you've maybe just come out in your pyjamas this morning.
I've literally just been a run, so I'm just back. And
look at him, Kevin. He's trying to show us up. He's been out a run this morning.
Not a very long run, let me put it that way.
Oh, but ladies and gentlemen, this is Callum McFadden. He's the new co-host, and you'll see him next Friday. Callum, take care, mate.
Brilliant. See you soon.
See you, Callum.
See you, Callum. So that is our new co-host on the Football Insomniac, Callum McFadden. Out a run on a Wednesday.
I know, mate. I'm so sick of running around the street, honestly. I'm so sick of it. I've been doing it for the last 15 months.
Gyms are opening, the 26th of this month?
Yeah, so the pubs. So it's going to be a toss-up that day.
It's an easy one. You just run to the pub.
Might do both.
But Kevin, it's been brilliant having you on the show today, and I can't let you go without actually talking about your own career so far.
Yeah.
For those that haven't heard you before, you're a country music star based in Glasgow, really coming up and through the ranks right now. We met about 18 months ago when you did a Celtic State of Mind podcast.
Yeah.
And we've been pals since. I've been to see a couple of your live shows. Thanks for the tickets. But you've got your new single out, Seeing Things.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, and I'm not just saying this as your pal, but it's definitely one of the best songs I've heard this year. Tell us a bit about it and what the story is behind the song.
First of all, thanks very much, mate. I'm very humbled.
I'll take the 20 quid.
I'll give you that tenner later.
We agreed 20?
Seeing things. It seems to be doing really well. Came out just over a month ago. It's picked up really well on Spotify and on radio and stuff like that as well. So I actually wrote it last year via video call with a writer in Nashville called Mason Thornley, who's an amazing writer. And we just bashed it out one day on FaceTime, and it was really difficult because it's obviously during the pandemic, and there's limited things you can do to promote a song, like it's all online or on radio, and it was a really big sort of turning point. But we got to the point where we didn't want to just not put music out. You know, if we had the means to be able to do it, we just did it. So yeah, shot a very, very limited sort of lyric video for it that I put together myself, which is up on YouTube and all that sort of stuff if anybody wants to check it out. And seeing things, just it seems to be doing really well right now, and I'm so grateful for all the responses from radio and from Spotify. They've picked it up on a few of the playlists as well. So people seem to be liking it, which is the main thing.
And taking a look at it, I mean, the song, if anyone's heard it, is about kind of bumping into perhaps an ex at the supermarket or stuff like that. Is that a true story, or is it just something that kind of you've seen happen to other people?
It's happened a few times, maybe not that specifically, but do you know what? I think it's nice releasing that kind of song just now, because you can't, like, everyone's in the same situation right now where you actually can't really escape the hometown where you live. So the chances of these things happening are so much, more likely to happen. You're more likely to bump into people you don't want to see. But it's not just about that, it's about online as well, and seeing things that you don't want to see online. You might not have this certain person on Facebook or on Instagram, but if they're out with your friends and they get tagged in it, then you have to see that as well, because it comes up on your timeline. So, it's the virtual side of things and the physical side of things, and I think I can certainly relate to it, and a lot of people have come to me and said they get the lyrics and it means something to them. So that's kind of where it's at.
And kind of heading back to the football side of things, you've had a couple of your songs played over the tannoy at Celtic Park. Yeah. As a Celtic fan, what was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. I'm so grateful to people at Celtic for doing that for me. It's actually European games. It's been a couple of European games, and we've won. I think we've won all the games 2-0. So next time we're playing Barca at home, I'll be making that request. But it's cool. I remember the first time it happened, the team were like running out for their warm up for a European game. It was just really cool. It's something that I never thought would happen, but I'll never get tired of it. So if it ever happens again in future, it'll mean just as much to me as it did before.
What's it like when you hear your song being played on the radio, or being in the Spotify charts, or even coming over the tannoy at Celtic Park? Because I mean, I know myself, if I'm doing these podcasts and I maybe catch a bit of them listening back, I'm going, oh Jesus, is that what I actually sound like? I feel sorry for the listeners that actually have to listen to it. Is it a bit of a surreal experience when you hear yourself singing back?
It's not a surreal experience because I've listened to the song to death before it comes out, right? So it's not like I've just made something up on the spot and then I have to go and listen to it back and go, It's actually the complete opposite of that. Like, it sounds so bad to say, but by the time the record comes out, I'm sick of it. Not trying to deplug anything here. It's my best work, right? But do I want to sit and listen to it 10 times? No, I don't. I've heard it to death. I've heard every single part of the song to death. We've properly scrutinised everything to be at 100% of the level that we want it to be at. So I'll never tire of hearing it on radio. Like, I'm always so grateful for that kind of thing and getting that support. I think so many artists can take that for granted. And like hearing it in these situations is obviously more special than just listening to it on Spotify or seeing it somewhere on Spotify. Because you get the atmosphere of listening to it at Celtic Park or just turning on the radio and having it come on. So I wouldn't say it's surreal hearing it back, but every situation differs.
So if you take a look at your career so far, what would you say has been your highlight to date?
Oh my goodness. I don't know what my highlight would be. There's been so many amazing shows, so many great moments like Celtic Park and festivals and stuff. I really enjoyed a live session I did on BBC Radio 2 a couple of years ago. It was with Claire Balding, and I went on and sang like my latest single. That to me was probably me out to my biggest audience. Like Radio 2 is the most listened to station in Europe. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of broadcast, apart from Axom and the Football Insomniac, I would go with Radio 2.
And obviously you were on tour with Rod Stewart as part of your kind of development of coming through the music industry. What was that like?
No, it was cool. We went out with John. He was obviously supporting, so I'd done some of the music for that, and it was just helping, and I'd been doing some of the songwriting as well for the tour, and it was just a great experience. Like, we did the summer stadium tour and then the winter tour, and being around people at that level, just lovely people, great people, generous people, kind people who are just at the top of their industry, and you learn so much, whether it be songwriting, whether it be backing vocals, whether it be, doing videos for them or taking photos and all that. So, it was great to be around, and I hope there's a lot more of that to come, maybe when things open up.
Just bringing this comment up here, coming in from Duncan Robertson.
Hi, Duncan.
Dunk must have been a highlight. What a man.
Yeah, all right, Duncan, how you doing? Nah, Duncan was my bass player for a few years. He actually left Scotland to move to London a while ago, but been to many a Celtic game with Duncan, Celtic home and away.
So, I mean, obviously you've had those experiences of being on the road, as you said, with John McLaughlin, who's your manager, and obviously his group who were touring with Rod Stewart. There must have been some stories out of that sort of inspired some of the tracks that you've been penning. Like, stories that kind of just like, we wouldn't believe because we weren't there, but it just kind of transpires into a song.
What, like filling the suitcase with Bevy, clearing the rider out?
Stuff like that, yeah.
Do you know what? There's a lot to write about, but there's a lot more still to come. It's just the day-to-day life of the tour is just amazing. And because you're part of Rod's team, you're getting kind of the same treatment as like his band and stuff like that. There's no separation between you. Mm-hmm. So it was amazing from that side of things. Yeah, there's stories, there's some fantastic stories, but I think I'd kind of nothing that I want to write about straight away. I think it'll maybe hit me, later on in life, and I'll look back at that and I'll maybe write a song about the hotels that we stayed in. There was some real stories there that maybe wouldn't go well with country music at the moment. But it was brilliant. So many stories, and so many good times.
And obviously, that's a lot of Celtic fans travelling together. There must have been a lot of football talk as part of that.
We watched quite a lot of the games on Celtic TV. Was it Celtic TV? I can't remember. No, I better not say it's Celtic TV because that's only available outside the UK and Ireland. But yeah,
I'm sorry, Kevin. This is live. That's already been out there.
We'd watched the games together backstage, and I think it was. I think we're playing Sarajevo away, and before Rod went on, he was like, "You need to." Celtic were, I think it was 1 each at the time or something like that, or Celtic turned it around to go 2-1 up, and Rod was like, "You need to tell me if Celtic score again, like you need to come on stage and tell me." And we're like, "Nah." So Celtic went 3-1 up, so John went up to the side of the stage and told Rod mid-concert that Celtic had gone 3-1 up, and I ended up filming it and putting it up on Twitter, and it just went like viral, and like the newspapers and stuff had picked it up. But you see him actually stopping his concert and going like that. So, Celtic first, music after.
And obviously, you're looking to achieve that in your own career. So, what's the plans going forward for 2021 and beyond? Is there some gigs coming up, or is there a new album potentially in the works?
Yeah, did my video just turn off for a second?
No, you're still good.
It's on here. It just swirled around on here. Yeah, so it's just a waiting game right now, Colin. We're waiting to see what opens up and when things open up. So I've been lucky enough to have a couple of festivals confirmed already for the end of summer, outdoor music festivals here in the UK. So I'm trying to just take everything with a pinch of salt right now. I'm still working every day on music, still plan to release music as scheduled. We're not really changing that, but in terms of shows, I feel like the last 12 months we've built everything up so much, whether it's the pubs opening or whether it's getting back into football grounds, or for me personally, it's when I can get back playing a show. And every time we build it up, we just end up disappointed. So I'm just trying to take it week by week, keep working on whatever I can do, and just be as ready as possible for when things do open up. I pray to God that these festivals will happen at the end of summer, Obviously, if it's not safe to do so, then they won't happen. So try not to think too far ahead.
Well, I definitely encourage everyone who's watching to go and check out Kevin's music. It's definitely one of those ones. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're going to drive, if you're going to run, if you're doing some housework, whatever it is you're doing, you can certainly listen to Kevin's music, and it makes that task a wee bit more bearable. Maybe that's what Callum was listening to when he was out his run earlier, although he told us he was watching this. So I'm a bit sceptical on what he was actually doing.
Aye, well, he was obviously watching this because he stole my par about benzene last year.
No, but
let him away with that.
Kevin, it has been fantastic having you on the show today.
Thanks,
Just as it's been having everyone watching on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Thank you for joining me on what is the last in the series of the Football Insomniac. It is our last Wednesday morning show, and I'm delighted to have shared that with yourself, Kevin, and also with all the guests that we've had on through this series, which started away back in January with Paul Mitchell. We've had so many great guests. I would be naive to try and name them all, but it's been great having everyone. It's been great having a lot of the Insomniacs who watch every single week joining in, and I hope that you'll continue to watch when we move this show to Friday at 6 p.m. on A State of Mind starting next week. To everyone who's watching, take care, stay safe. Kevin, thank you very much for joining me. This is the Insomniac on a Wednesday, signing out.